morning. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening.
Hi, everybody. How you doing?
Welcome to
UpFront with your girl, Mainstream and Big Sis.
We cancelled the big because of lost weight, thanks to this damn pandemic. This is the first episode of the UpFront. So what we're doing with this podcast is we're bringing both your favorites and the people that you don't know exist upfront.
Yes.
And they're bringing their stories and their businesses and other things, whatever it is, and their truest selves also upfront. And beyond anything, collectively, we want to bring different issues and different subjects, both serious and casual and dumb and everything in between, upfront. So basically, what we'll be doing on the first season will be undressing
Social issues.
Wow. We'll be undressing social issues and addressing some of these social issues. And our desire is to create a platform where anyone can speak and speak without the fear of being misunderstood or judged or anything, because we lack platforms where people can actually have conversations without any kind of restriction. In our case, it's time. So today we have, if you're listening, of course you are, today we have a phenomenal man. First time I saw him was on Twitter. He retweeted one of my tweets, which was the last time I posted something controversial because I was on some. It was last year. I tweeted about how I'm not showing up for rehearsal unless you've paid a deposit.
Which is.
And then
how is that controversial?
Yeah.
And then some people were like blasting that whole narrative because someone retweeted and
why are they
quoted
getting
the tweet.
touchy?
And someone else said, I don't know, I forgot what someone else said. How do I trust that you're gonna show up? And then I was doing some. But chief, you called me, so you know I'm gonna show up.
And besides, you have my money and I have your people.
You understand?
I'm bringing you the people, just give me my money.
So
yeah,
give me the money.
Or you can just show up at my place.
Hey.
Because if after all you're gonna take me to my house after rehearsal.
At the end of the day, true.
So he is the director of minorities and founder, right? We'll allow him to introduce himself. Wow. And then Mainstream main chick is going to do the thing. And before we continue, isn't it ironic that her name is Mainstream main chick? Maraga Jod.
Jolana Snamon.
Thank you for having my back. Thank you for having my back. Like, why are you throwing me in the deep end? Hey, now. Okay, no problem. I think we should allow you.
Well, thank you. I was wondering when you were introducing yourself that good morning, good afternoon, everyone. And I was looking around, am I the everyone? But I suppose this is everyone saying good morning and good afternoon and hello to everyone. My name is Melusi Simelane. I am founding executive director of Eswatini Sexual and Gender Minorities, otherwise known on social media as minorities. And I cannot wait to see this show soar and become one of the biggest shows in the country. And yes, happy to be here and happy to be one of the first people that you speak to.
All right.
I'm excited to have you actually. Ever since that one tweet of yours that you tweeted about, you wanted to share your life because it's so exciting. We're just talking about it right now. About how your life is so exciting. And I was like, you know what, guys? As long as we get the funding, the documentary being done, I already have an idea. It's being laid already.
And I think it's more than just how exciting one person's story is. It's about reminding people that whoever you are, however people might view you, you are unique, you matter, and you've got a story.
Yeah. And that is actually our topic today.
Exactly. But before we continue, our management at DTTV. Please,
shout out to DTTV.
They should sponsor this documentary and make it come to life because we need more stories to be told. Anyway, so let's take it away.
Cool, no problem. So our guest today, the reason why we chose him was because we are focusing more on our minorities. And by minorities, we don't only we don't only want to focus on just the sexual gender part of it, but then the holistic art of it, because I mean, here we are as creatives, and I feel like we're still misrepresented within the workspace, not only corporately, because that's the more booming part of it. However, I'll allow you to start.
The whole point of us wanting to discuss the aspect of minorities in society, we live in a time now, actually, these are things that existed that just got amplified. That there are people that don't really matter in society. For instance, I'll make an example. An artist may pass away today in our 17,000 square kilometer plot. And I say an artist can be categorized as a member of a minority group in our situation, because they are not really a priority, and what they do isn't really as important as they believe.
Seen as important.
Seen, exactly. Thank you. Seen as important. So now, what you started was something that has moved and shaken the whole country.
I hope it has.
It has.
Because you're shaking the country and you're shaking generations when people are actually talking about it, and we're talking about it. And beyond anything, you are shaking the country, Chief.
He's literally rocking the boat.
I'm so excited you are juxtaposing us as sexual and gender minorities and the arts industry as being minorities in its sense. And I'm reminded of a conversation I had with someone who said, so if, say, in another world, the LGBT community was the majority, would you still consider yourselves minorities? And my answer was simple. We are not just about numbers when we say minorities. We're about social acceptance. We're about participating in broader things in the country. So we are a social minority. And I understand what you mean when you say the arts have been perceived as not to matter, because they are social minorities.
I mean, we recently, I'm just going to put this in because, hey, man, we have the platform. We recently started, it wasn't a campaign that was deliberate. It was a conversation that led on to a status update on Facebook, that led on to a tweet, and that led on to a meeting with the right legislators who are going to pay attention to this, because we were complaining about how the arts and entertainment industries have been shut down since the pandemic started.
Oh, that happened.
And hashtag open our industry.
Wow.
Hence, hashtag open our industry.
Oh, okay.
So
that's what that is.
Now it makes sense. Now it makes sense.
So what we were saying, we're not saying we're disregarding the fact that we're in a pandemic. We're not disregarding the seriousness of the pandemic. What we're doing, however, is we're just trying to say,
Absolutely.
because I'll make an example. I have people that I know who've been locked out of their apartment.
Because they can't make money anymore.
Artists. Who've been locked out of their apartments. And I know artists in South Africa. I know two musicians, a keyboard player and a guitarist. They're friends with Trevor Spusiso, who's also Swazi, but he was studying in South Africa. Amifaku's band.
Okay.
So basically they got a booking to be part of Lockdown House Party, and they got a check like they would get at a festival. You understand? Which basically means their industries, the wheel that
the
runs,
government has done something to intervene, isn't it?
We can't compare ourselves to global economies when it comes to this, because they've been running with this for years.
But they must do something.
But we need to start somewhere, which is what I want to get into with you, as to what was it that got you to a point where you decided, you know what?
Constitutional should change.
It's a very tough question. The other week on the 12th of August is International Youth Day. So I attended, courtesy of being sexual and gender minorities, we attended the celebration where the Minister of Youth and Sports and Arts and Culture was there. And I was listening to the contributions from young people talking about, entrepreneur this, economic this, commercial hub this, technological innovation that. And I was just sitting there thinking, this is ludicrous, because we live in a diverse world and people align to their identities. Sure, I'm going to speak about LGBT people, but what about the people in the arts? There is no one in that room. There was no one in that room who represented the arts, and this is where a vast majority of young people are. Of course, we understand government wants innovation, they want technology, they want entrepreneurship, but they are forgetting about where a lot of these young people are.
But don't you think it's an issue? with us not having access to information.
Right.
Because I'm not sure about now, but I am aware of the fact that entertainment entities or sectors within the entertainment industry, including sports, play a major role in boosting the GDP of some of the leading economies in the world.
Right.
You know, the NFL is a big cash cow.
Right.
When you talk about film and TV, if one movie
Hollywood
can gross
I
our
have
economy,
something for that.
yeah,
I have something for I was having a conversation with I think we've all met Toby Bushfire, stage manager. He literally mentioned at a point in time that I wouldn't know if it's true or not. These are his words. He actually mentioned that the contribution of just that festival is able to reach 17% on its own. One festival.
of course.
3 days.
I think it was 2016 where they hit above 30 million, 20 million in cross-border revenue.
Right. So now here we are. I feel like the reason why I would want to actually rebut it is, in fact, not necessarily rebut it, but then add on to it is because here we are. Yes, the mainstream media has been on the controversial part of it, which, as we see, Eswatini does not necessarily allow. Right. However, now we see some of these industries grow outside of just booty shaking and trap houses and all of that. Like, why can't our own country just accept the beauty of it?
Because they don't want you to take us to the demon time on TikTok, you know.
Why are we demonizing everything?
But I mean, I don't know. I probably shouldn't say this, but I've grown to realize that we do not need the media. We are the media, which is why we have DTTV. Because you no longer have to rely on those mainstream traditional things, because there's bureaucracies there, there's politics there. Politics which nobody wants to talk about, but they need to be addressed. And that is where then, back to your question of what drove me to want to do something, was because I realized that there are politics that are holding us back, the bureaucracies that are holding us back. And if we just sit around and let us hit us this side and give them the other side, we're never going to get anywhere. We need to start having the conversations.
Which actually brings me to the next question. It's with what you're doing right now, we are all probably fighting the same fight, which is constitutional change, right? How is that personally?
Maybe not change, but, you know, finally someone reading the Constitution and understanding what it means. Because I mean, sure, there are people in different sectors who want some changes, and sure, the Constitution is not a museum.
True.
It should be it
should evolve.
It should evolve. It should be a live document, so that over time people look into it and say, maybe we need to change that. That's fine. But I still feel we are at a stage where constitutional dispensation 2005 until now, there's a lot that we have not done. There's a lot that we still do not believe should be, but it's in the Constitution. Look at free education as an example. People had to, it was the unions or whatever of these people who worked in the mines that had to take government to court to say, it's in the Constitution that you're going to give us free education. And government was just, you know, playing around. And I don't understand why it requires for Emaswati to have to actually take government to court for government to act.
Are we ignorant as a people?
Because first of all,
I was actually going to ask that question. We could say, Emaswati ayatsi gungati kufana ngabon.
Right.
If you didn't hear me, sorry. But the statement is, if you don't know, you're not seeing.
Ignorance is bliss.
So how can we be active citizens if we do not know?
Now,
but my question is, how are we going to know if there's no one sharing the information?
Exactly. So now I was going leading me to my next point. And we now supposed, like you're doing, and we're now supposed to assume the responsibility to ourselves to educate people like you're doing. Because I'll make an example. I saw, I think it was a screenshot of the Constitution. There was a segment that you guys were discussing on Twitter this week.
We looked for it, we couldn't find it.
Find it.
Oh,
and that was, we looked your timeline and minorities timeline. We wanted to touch on it, and it was like, please take us
maybe
through
we should take a campaign, and start educating people about the Constitution.
Yes.
And you see, it's supposed to be the government that informs people about their rights.
Okay.
They're not doing that because, you know what? I don't know, but I feel like a government is always afraid of a people that is smart and the people that knows, because people are going to ask questions and they don't want you to ask questions, do they?
We do ask questions in the wrong places and the wrong times.
Yeah, I think there's something that Trevor Noah said in one of his stand-ups, that we're murmuring a race, us, in this continent.
We need to stop it.
What we do is, I'll make an example. I'm an entertainer.
Right.
I'm going to get to a gig,
Right.
and we're going to have a situation where my artist liaison doesn't give us our food, doesn't give us...
And you've got to be playing that drum.
And I need to play that drum. And I'll be thinking the whole time,
Yeah.
Understand?
Because promoters don't want to pay.
Now,
It's unfortunate. I'm one of the few people that will actually pay you handsomely. I'm not a promoter, but whenever I have events, I always make sure that I pay above the market. And the people that I've worked with can vouch for me.
Yeah.
Because I
Please, can
understand
people
the
listen?
struggle, I can understand the struggle, because we've got a situation where if we are not protecting ourselves, there's no one that's going to protect us. You're talking of the arts industry. There is a bill. Mosaic did a song about that bill on the royalties and stuff of artists. That thing is collecting dust wherever Hospital Hill.
We're actually having a conversation about that.
Right.
My management and friends to management.
Right. Okay.
And because I was reading up on this whole situation about collective management organizations. And I realized that organizations like the Southern African Music Rights Organization, SAMRO, and its subsidiaries don't have jurisdiction in our country.
Are you serious?
So yeah, because
it's South African.
our radio station, in fact, they're original. They're not South African. They're original.
But Swaziland doesn't allow them.
They don't have jurisdiction here because we don't subscribe to their policies.
So we don't have the regulations.
We don't. Our
laws
space
and
is not regulated.
Right.
So now, what's supposed to happen is, among many things that are supposed to happen, is a radio station is not supposed to play your song without a license,
without paying the royalties.
What would happen if Beyonce found out that we've been playing the Black is King or the what you call this Lion King soundtrack on our radio stations? We would get into serious.
Imagine a whole country being sued because it's government, it's state property.
That would be nice, right? Because you've got people up there who do not want to do the right things because
not that they don't know.
They do know how to do it. They don't want to do it.
Now,
because if they do that, and then the people are going to be empowered. And you've got a oil system that doesn't want people to be empowered. That's why we must work together.
Yeah. Now it goes back. It leads me to what working together. What you've done with e-minorities.
Because we're getting too political.
Yeah. what you've done with e-minorities is emphasizes on the fact that we need to move and be proactive. You know, you realize the challenges that you were facing as an individual and your circle was facing and all of that, and that led you to action. Right. So I just want, before we move along, I just want to say, I think it becomes our responsibility because but there comes a point in time where they're not going to lift you from the sofa to your bedroom.
True.
You know, and that's the day you realize, so if you wake up in the middle of the night and you realize that, I haven't been gigging, but my song has played so many times, I should have made so much money. You know, it becomes our responsibility now to take the initiative and do what you did. You know, because you're representing a lot of people. I went to the party that you did last September. At Flying Club. Yeah, I went to that party and I had the time of my life, and I got to realize how big the community is, and
that was not even half.
And that wasn't even half of the people. That's the thing. So now, how has it been for you as an individual? I told Skulila I was going to ask you this question.
Yeah,
it's been tough.
Self-discovery.
Yeah.
You know, because some people know in early stage
yeah.
that I'm this kind of a person. So self-discovery and the journey in terms of communicating who you are to the people around you, that being family, friends, and
Standing your ground. with
standing
it.
your ground with that.
I feel like you're giving out away information that's supposed to be for the documentary, but
It's an exclusive.
It's EA.
but it's been very tough. So back to the basics. So I grew up without my mother, my biological mother. So I grew up with my dad and my stepmom. So when I was like 9, my dad died. So then I had to like move and not stay with my stepmom, to live with my grandparents. So already at that point, I was being called names, Christian family, Christian values.
Yeah.
But when you get to school, you're called names and, homophobic names, which at the time, I don't even understand what the hell that is, right? And I don't know if you guys remember, Lamas tracksuits laba hwasha hwasha.
Yeah.
Yes.
So at schools, there was that option, or if you're a boy, you wear the grey pants. I always preferred the hwasha hwashas, right? The tracksuit. I don't know why. I never liked the grey pants.
You're not alone.
So there was always people saying I look like a girl, or literally genuinely mistaking me for a girl, but I didn't mind that. So I stayed with my grandparents and my aunties and aunts and uncles and cousins. So grow up, finish primary school. So when I finished primary school, now it's getting a little too much, and it's eating at me that, okay, I don't even have a mother, I don't have a father, because my mother then died a year after my father died, my real mother.
Yeah.
Like I met her, then a year later she passes. But anyway, so now it's eating at me like, why are people calling me names? And first of all, I don't have parents, I don't have anyone that I can talk to about this whole thing. Then I start reading. I was reading about this whole homosexuality thing. And then I was like, okay, this is crazy. I can't remember the name of this book that I read, but it was describing how it could be easy for parents to tell. It was making examples, and this is not to say it's the norm. It was making examples of sometimes a boy, a child, small boy, will perhaps play with dolls or, so it was making all of those examples, then growing up until
Slightly cliche ones.
With the cliche ones, right? And then it was going up to the stage of adolescence, talking about, the type of 18 and above, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the type of wet dreams that usually, and this is not the norm, right? It was just making examples sometimes, the type of wet dreams that a boy would have, and then I was like, what the actual hell? This is me.
And you're just thinking about it at that moment.
This is me. This happens to me. And growing up, I was struggling with what the hell is this? And mind you, Christian family, Christian values, there's no space to discuss sex, relationships.
Of course.
You had no point of reference as to I wanted to be that way. Yeah.
And even the cousins who are straight, we know as siblings that they're dating, but at home, there's no space for that.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
So at what point then, I always ask these people who brought the conversation of coming out to me, I ask, so at what point was I going to go to my grandparents or my aunt or my uncles or whatever to say, oh, I'm gay?
I'm Frank. Oh, yeah.
Right, because no one within my cousins has come out to say, oh, I'm straight. Or to say, hey, this is my girlfriend. Like, there's no space for that. So now I grow up with that sort of, oh, this is me, self-discovery. At home, the cousins, the siblings, they already know that I'm different, right? It's the information that moves in silos, right?
Why the need to come out, though? Sorry.
So that is when then it comes to me getting into high school, living in boarding school. Now I'm being exposed to this world because now I've read about this world. Now I know what this world is. So now I understand there's issues of coming out, and then I understand why people have to come out. And I actually, even though I've never believed so much in it, I sympathize with it because we live in a heteronormative society. Just yesterday on Twitter, there's this whole thing about Lasizwe. What's his name?
Lasizwe.
That one, yes. He says maybe we need to educate people at a young age about, sexual diversity.
Yeah.
And people are saying, no.
Why
And that's because at a young age, everyone is taught heterosexuality.
Yeah.
Look at the films that you watch. Look at the cartoons that you watch. It's always heterosexual relationships because that's the norm, right? So the minute you are something else,
you're disrupting the peace.
Exactly. So that is why at some point you have to the people that you love, you have to come out to them to say, hey, I am coming out. This is who I am. Because we've been raised in a society that frowns upon who we are. So that is why we have to always tell our story. That is why I said to you, it's not about me sharing my story.
Yeah.
It's about empowering every young person that your story matters, and you
The upcoming generation.
The upcoming generation must know that their story matters, and we must tell these stories until it is normalized. Not to say we're trying to take over, but we're just trying to normalize our lives because we've been abnormalized for so long, and we're treated like aliens.
I wanted to touch on being seen and making moves. Billboards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Billboards. Why was it? Okay, first of all, we understand the necessity of it, but why did you feel like this is the location to have it?
So first and foremost, my organization, Eswatini Sexual and Gender Organization, minorities, we try to come together. We draft our papers to try register. The registrar of companies says no. And well, he doesn't say no at first. He calls us for a meeting, which is bizarre because the Companies Act is clear how people register, right? No, it's clear. I must file my papers.
And
if there's something in ERA, you can just write to me and say, fix that, don't do that, pay that.
You had a meeting.
So we were called for a meeting, sure. I mean, we went with our lawyer because we already knew that something is wrong. So we go up with the lawyer and he says, no. Listen, just change the objectives because it's the biggest problem is our objectives. 1, 2, it's the name of the organization. So we're like, but what do you mean? And then he brings up examples. You will know that I've been working in the LGBT space for so long.
Yeah.
I worked for the Rock of Hope. I volunteered before. I mean, I was always an activist, So it was easy working with such organizations. And there's many. There's the Rock of Hope. There's House of Our Pride. There's Transwati. There's Health Plus for Men. There is Voice of Our Voices. There's
You
a lot of
learn
these
something new every
right?
day.
Oh,
You need to look at it.
and
Yeah.
everything's gold right now, man.
But the only difference is these organizations are working on HIV interventions. So the language on the objectives is different. It's called key populations because that's the language that is used at UN level, the World Health Organization.
Yeah.
It categorizes some people in the LGBT community as key populations because they are at high risk because of behavioral issues. So
High
for
risk
instance,
of
high risk
HIV. Okay.
So for instance, you've got men who have sex with men, which you could say are gay men, right? And then you've got trans women, which unfortunately the government still does not want to admit that these are trans women. They want to categorize them as men who have sex with men. So it's easier to then start an organization, tweak your objectives, use the language, key populations, HIV interventions, boom, you do the work.
What are we hiding?
So while I was working with the other organizations, we did the first Pride in 2018, which was so hard. People enjoyed it, people celebrated it, but the behind the scenes, I was like losing weight. I was sick. I was like really, really
Physically
sick.
drained.
They invented
Physically
Prince of
drained.
Wales, right?
Because of, the one that was...
Yeah.
And people have no idea that the work that went behind that. And shout out to the US Embassy, the Human Rights Commission, because they were there with us, like helping us
Moving,
moving around. And I think bigger shout outs to the Human Rights Commission because with just the US Embassy, it would have looked bad, But with the local Human Rights Commission always pushing with us to say, yes, these are human rights issues. But it was so hard. And the biggest issue was, you are not an organization that has objectives to deal with this. You're supposed to be dealing with HIV, right? So it becomes hard. That's when we said, no, look, we need to have an organization that specifically says we are dealing with these issues, not just on HIV. Yes, we must deal with HIV, but there's also issues of employment equality. There's also issues of education. Children are being bullied at schools at tertiary level. Students are being bullied. There's issues There's even issues of politics. We want to run for parliament. I mean, why not? But for that to happen, we must come together as a social minority to discuss our issues, right?
Yeah.
So then
And be allowed to.
So they said no to our objectives, and then that is why then we had to force them to tell us no in a letter with reasons. So we then took those reasons and went to court. So now come the Billboard. We we are supposed to be in court. I mean, whenever the court is ready to give us a date, because they postponed twice. The first time they postponed.
I remember the first time you actually were like, no, guys.
I was pissed because, the presiding judge, it's a constitutional bench, which is really big. It's like 3 judges deciding on our matter. Because it's a constitutional, because we're bringing constitutional questions to them, because we're saying the Constitution says everyone has a right to associate, and the government is saying we can't associate. So the presiding judge said she's related to the state council, so we had to postpone. Then on the second time, COVID-19, they said there's been a scare in court, so we have to move things. So to this day, we're still waiting for that. So the billboard is because, first of all, we obviously don't take for granted a global pandemic.
True.
So we are not going to say they're lying, because we don't believe they could use the global pandemic to delay us. But we are starting to feel like we're being delayed, because even if it is a global pandemic, there's virtual spaces to do this thing.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's why we decided we need to push the message. We're pushing it on social media. We are trying in newspapers, but like I said, we don't need the media. We are the media.
Yeah.
So we decided, why not put a billboard at a place where these judges drive past?
Almost every day.
Almost every day. But also at a place where government people, someone as senior as the Deputy Prime Minister, if you look at where his office is, so whenever he has to go for a meeting at Hospital Hill, that's exactly
that
where
was so
he drives.
strategic.
Right?
That was so strategic.
Like, this is exactly where these big government people thrive through. So we need for them to see that we really want to talk about constitutional rights. It's nothing foreign that we're asking. We're not asking for them to cut people's legs or give us wings or whatever. We just want constitutional rights that are in the Constitutional Act of 2005.
Please, may I just divert a little bit? I might be controversial. I would not know how.
We love controversy.
I'm trying to place it in a manner that.
Are we going to be sued in our first episode?
No, we're not.
Don't worry. I'll bring a lawyer.
This is my one issue now.
Yeah.
In almost every aspect of revolutionary change or revolutionary wayward, right? You look at the apartheid, you look at Zimbabwe. Now, like, I'm touching at places close to home because here we are, right? You look at your Mozambique, there's always bloodshed. Let that sink in. There's always bloodshed.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's going to push to that direction.
Metaphorically.
Yeah, I understand. So it's now a matter of, here we are.
Yeah.
I noticed, Sis noticed, everybody else is noticing everywhere. Like the shaking of the boat, everybody's ready. Now, as an activist, we have seen what happened. I mean, Black Lives Matter, all of that. Do you think the country, the minorities are, definitely, I know that much. As a country, do you think we are about to be on some Together We Stand?
So that's a very politically charged question, and I love those sort of questions, because at some point, Swazi citizens are going to have to realize that they are on their own. We are on our own. It's exactly what I said with the whole art industry, like
true.
And stuff. We are the entertainment industry as a whole. We are on our own. The government is not going to come out and save us. They're not going to do that because I don't know why. So we are on our own. And I believe that if Swazi citizens are still at that era in their minds of, oh, as long as I've got a job, as long as I work at the bank, I'm able to pay my rent, I go to sleep, period.
I'm fine.
I think those...
Something is missing.
Those are the biggest problematic people that we have in the country right now.
Yeah.
But the reason I was saying metaphorically bloodshed is because I don't believe as a people we are ever going to get there.
No.
We're not going to get there. Because it happens in countries like South Africa, because you will find, even within the apartheid movement, there were disagreements even within the black community. Because they're different tribes, so it's easy for tempers to spiral out. But for us, we're one tribe. We all speak the same language.
Yeah.
We don't need to fight.
We just need to sit down and...
Go now.
How peaceful can we be? And for how long?
We are are very peaceful, though. I mean, go now, speak to any police who has an experience in the strikes that always happen in the country. They'll tell you they don't go there because
nothing
they
much.
want to beat people up. It's they understand also the struggles because they're part of society.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I believe as a people, as Maswati, what we need to do is understand, first of all, intersectionality. And that is where we've lost it. We've got a women's movement which will say, aye, but trans women, you are going to
Yeah.
muddy the waters for us. Don't bring that to us.
Yeah.
You've got trade unions who are going to say, aye, that whole political, don't bring that to us. And you've got a political movement that says, aye, don't bring that. So people are moving in, and you've got an entertainment industry that's like,
Yo, chief.
like, Melusi, no, don't bring that one to us.
Yo, chief. Listen.
So, and you've got young people, a youth movement, which is more interested in entrepreneurship, which is okay. It's fine. But we are missing one thing, intersectionality, coming together, to work together. And I believe there is such a beautiful future for this country. We just need to work together. We are never going to get to bloodshed. Honestly, I don't see that happening. We are one people. We just need to converse, and we need for people to start listening.
Yeah. Now, you said something that it reminds me of a conversation that I had with MK this one time, and he said to me, when we collaborate,
Right.
Yeah.
and we begin to build awesome stuff, and I went on to say, when we collaborate, and it matters less who gets the credit, we begin to build things that last.
Right.
Steve Rico.
So now, you have an event coming up. We're about to close. We are over time by 2 minutes.
Ooh.
So it was nice.
I love. Oh yeah. His conference.
How do you know about my event?
We troll.
You guys have spies everywhere.
No.
Yeah.
First episode. We must look like we do our
We must
research.
know. It's literally on us.
Right.
Yeah. So tell us more about that, and then let's wrap it up.
So we are building a culture of collectiveness, collective activism, coming together as a community.
Amen to
so
that.
we started last year at Hawanda. We had the very first LGBT conference in Eswatini. It was actually covered widely in our newspapers. I was so happy because I asked 2 journalists, one from Observer, one from Times, to actually be at the conference the entire week. So beautiful stories came out of that. So we are bringing the second one. It's actually happening September 15th until the 19th at Mantenga Lodge. So people can apply to attend. I mean, we want the LGBT community only to attend because we want them to discuss their issues. It's no holds barred. It becomes a literal conference where we are discussing, be it politics, be it economics, be it employment, be it education.
Safe space.
Safe space for LGBT people to speak about their issues. But the funny thing that is happening this time around is last year we declared September as Eswatini Pride Month. And this is not to then compete with June, which is
The global,
widely known. And we understand June, it's because of the Stonewall riots and in New York City. So that's unique for them. It means something for them, right? But for us, we decided what matters to us as a Maswati, what is it that we want to drive home? So we realized that we've got the common law offense of sodomy, which still criminalizes same-sex intimacy. And it's a colonial law. And we had independence in September. So we need to take that September and say, hey,
that was well
as
thought
you are
out.
celebrating your independence, we know.
Remember,
because we're still stuck with that colonial law. So what we'll be doing at this conference that is unique, we are going to be celebrating, it will be a very different type of, not the flying club type of party.
Yeah.
It will be a very Grammys meets Oscar sort of setup, white carpet.
Before we go,
May I volunteer?
It's going to be on the Friday.
Let's book
so
my
for
band.
for the conference, LGBT people can apply to attend. They'll be sleeping there. I mean, during the days, anyone from outside can come. We've got that set up. So for instance, because we're going to publicize the agenda, on that Wednesday, I'm interested, you can just come listen. And we're also trying to make sure we live stream, but it's bit expensive for that, but we'll figure it out. But on that Friday evening, we're going to be having this wonderful Grammys meets Oscar meets Jay-Z's brunch.
Guys, please get your.
But it's invite only, so you get.
It's by invite only.
Yes, because it's a
Precisely
very
why-
expensive event.
Also, I think
why I'm
also
asking
because
him to book my
pandemic.
band. You see. So at least we pasha something there. All right, thank you so much. Thank Thank you so much for joining us, man. I must say that personally, and as a collective, we appreciate the work that you're doing.
Actually.
As we sign out, how can people get hold of you as an organization? And because I know people have questions, we didn't really dive deep. We're going to have a time where we're going to just sit down and dive deep and go into the
Add him on Twitter also.
Yeah.
I think I look forward to a moment where we are going to live stream this so that people can ask live questions. Because I love it when people actually attack us, because some questions are not questions. Some questions are attacks. I love them because they give us an opportunity to understand how better to explain to people. So you can reach us, first of all, #register ESGM, and then you can reach us on @eminorities. All platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, eminorities. And then I'm everywhere on Twitter.
On those streets.
Melusi Simelane, Mguni.
Thank you very much, man. Thank you so much, Mguni. Thank you so much for listening, Wena.
Everyone.
Everybody. No, thank you so much. This is the first episode of UpFront with Sis and Mainstream Main Chick. So
Let it go.
I really hope this was informative enough, and I personally wish you guys the best going forward. I personally know what it's like trying to build something from the ground up and the challenges that you get, and the more you shake the surface, the more difficult it is. So keep on doing what you're doing. Keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on. Wait, before we close, sorry. How does one register on the organization? Is anyone allowed to?
It's a membership-based. Thank you for the question.
Yes.
It's a membership-based organization, and it's not exclusive to LGBT people. Anyone. So right now, our membership, my last check was like 137 members that we have.
Okay.
It's like anyone who's Swati or who has a permanent residency in Eswatini can join to become a member. And the benefits of being a member is, one, you contribute to the movement, but also you get first dibs in terms of workshops that we have, so that you are up to speed with what the movement is about.
Naila invite.
So go to our website.
So we are registering so that we can go and have food in September there by Malolo.
So you go to our website, it's eswatiniminorities.org/membership, and then you just fill out.
Guys, feel free to please just hit that button, donate, subscribe, and donate and be a member. From me, Mainstream.
Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup.
Yee.